Here after taxes and duties and everything and shipping is $10. We sell them for 15 and we wholesale them at 12.50. So
Okay.
you make $2.50.
Got it. What percent of your business is wholesale versus just selling in small
So
quantity?
what blew us up was that like I kind of blended the two.
Mm.
So like if you go down the street or anywhere else, you try to walk in the store, they're gonna be an old Asian lady that's angry as fuck, be like, "Yo, where's your tax ID?"
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And if I'm gonna be honest, if you're black, they're definitely not gonna fuck with you.
Yeah.
But for me, I was
What did he just say? Hey, y'all, this is Kellen, Kash, Coleman, and you heard it right. This is true in the garment districts, whether you're in LA, New York, heard this my whole life, even before getting into business as a youngster. And he said, if you are black, they aren't even going to sell to you. We know this to be true about clothes, the clothes we sometimes wear, reason why I go overseas and get my stuff. Um, also, also, the hair products. Chris Rock and others have done movies on it. But can you let's rewind that real quick. Excuse the language.
12.50. So
Okay.
you make $2.50.
Got it. What percent of your business is wholesale versus just selling in small
So
quantity?
what blew us up was that like I kind of blended the two.
Mm.
So like if you go down the street or anywhere else, you try to walk in the store, they're gonna be an old Asian lady that's angry as fuck, be like, "Yo, where's your tax ID?"
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And if I'm gonna be honest, if you're black, they're definitely not gonna fuck with you.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like, "Yo, all these kids, they had like so creative," and I was like in the space, I was smoking weed, I was hanging out, so I was like, "Yo, why don't they get access to this?"
So he lets you know that he's fully emerged in the culture, and the hip hop. And for anybody who has not heard like an Asian guy, a Korean guy talk like this is how I grew up. This is how all the Koreans at Northgate, Walnut Creek, this is how they spoke. Concord, every throughout the whole Bay, San Francisco to Oakland. This is how people talk. And so when people say certain things, I don't understand it where I'm coming from until you go move in, the more rural areas and find that everyone wasn't blended, but that they will not sell to a black person. This is interesting. Everyone's not treated the same. You're not getting the same opportunity. That's why we still have to have programs, and it's not the DEI, because black folk weren't benefiting off that like they wanted to. We were getting like at best 2%, but in most of the states I lived in, when I looked at it, it's 1.2 or sometimes under 1. But this is why, in case you did not know, what is going on, everybody can't be a winner in certain businesses because you can't even be sold the product. And if you are sold the product, you're going to pay a much higher price, which means you're going to have to sell it at a much higher price. And everybody knows this is a buy as low as you possibly can and then sell as high as you possibly can. And so if your neighbor, because they're Korean, is able to beat you by 50% or 30%, your own brother ain't gonna come over and buy from you. But I appreciate Eric for giving us that game, and he has some more jewels I hope I can help us find in here, because this problem is not just an American issue. This is a global thing. You can go overseas, you can go over to Africa, Europe, Asia, and if you're not from that tribe, if you're not from that group, if you don't speak that language, if they think you've been gone long enough, they are going to try to get a higher price. And I've seen it where, okay, you don't think any of us speak this language. When we do break out into the language of your choice, now the prices come down. That's why my wife had always told me, cut it by 50% wherever you go. And it has always worked for me. And you know what? A good negotiation, both people are not going to be happy. I can remember being in Ethiopia, and Phil from the African diaspora saying, "Hey, I don't think she's too happy with you." But I got what I wanted, and I really wanted it probably cheaper, but I got it where I think it should have been priced. And so that's just real business. And I love business. My grandmother did business. I love business. Business is me. I've been doing business. So, you know, sometimes you have to get familiar. You have to get comfortable with the person. You have to get maybe some trust, some rapport, so you can get a better price. Because this is why a lot of Black Americans, African Americans, FBA, whatever we want to call ourselves, we feel like wherever we go, sometimes we feel like it's not fair. We feel like, you know, we're experiencing a different system, different cultures, different hierarchies, and we're always like the stepchild. But what we really have to understand is it's just business, and that sometimes we even do it to ourselves. If you do enough business, you'll find out, like, you know, I got too many situations of that. So business, really, you got to keep it real, you got to keep it strong. And the uncomfortable truth is, even when people try to sell you, they may not want to give you the same deal. They may not want to give you the same access. They may not want to give you the same trust. But that's not just one group. That's everybody to some degree. And we have to, you know, stand on our square and understand most people are not going to do righteous business. But guess what? You see how people turn out when they don't do righteous business. So what do? You don't walk around expecting fairness. You learn how to position yourself. You learn the language. You learn the cultures, the mannerisms. You learn how to read the room, how to negotiate, how to build leverage. And travel can help you with all of that. Travel can help you with all of that. When you travel, you got to understand the first price is not the real price. Even if you're just traveling down the street, that's not the real price. Even when you get your car, that's not the real price. If you're not from there, you're paying the outsider price. And if you don't work there, you're paying the outsider price. Do you dig? All right. So what do? You negotiate, you build relationships, you learn the culture. Business ain't ever fair. Pero business can be biased, business can be class-based, but business is still business. And that's why you got to learn business. And that's why sometimes you got to hire people. I know people here in Florida who couldn't get in a certain house in a certain neighborhood. They had to have a person from Israel buy their house because they weren't selling. And the same thing happens in parts of Cape Town and all over. So instead of asking, why is this happening? I want you to ask, how do I move smarter and more cunning inside of this? Because I'm not saying it's right. It's dead wrong. And nobody will ever say, hey, I'm a racist, or I'm a classist, or I don't like that tribe. But it happens all the time, every day, all day. And Eric, I was so glad he doesn't even know what he's saying. And I know he got some flack for saying it because he's talking about his people. And later on, you can see him talk about his dad. And so, the people who win understand the system, they adapt to the system, and eventually they build their own system. If you ain't building your own on platforms like Lovable, and ask me for some consulting, I'll help you out with that. Show you how to build. If you're not building now, you're waiting to just lose. If you don't know how things work and how to build it yourself, you're waiting to lose. It's okay to get a team, but you really got to know how things are built. So you got to connect global. You got to connect with everyone. Do not be a victim, and you got to have a strategy. And that's where a lot of people lack, is on strategy. They don't know strategy. They just, what's that? And sometimes strategy comes with, timing. So I get it. But we're going to go over to another part of this video.
Right? Why is it always like gate kept? So what I did, I was like, fuck it, dog. Wholesale for everybody. Come to the store, I'll give you wholesale to everybody. And that shit fucking blew up. Yeah. Somebody will come in and it's like, I don't know if they got a brand or if they just want to wear the shit and they just want a $15 hoodie. So it's hard to kind of know, but we do cater to, like, some resale stores, some bigger accounts, even Luxbox, they'll do their merch, but it's hard to know, like, what.
So he's selling to everybody, and that's the American way.
30,000 square feet.
Got it. And how much are you paying in
rent? I think it's like 25 racks.
25 racks a month.
Yeah. Payroll is probably 18,000 a week.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's like
Jeanette.
75K a month.
Yeah,
Around
is
there.
he Asian? He's fast.
Come
Fast
on
with
now.
the math, bro. He's fast with me.
75K.
It's after everything, because like some of it's wholesale, some of it's real. Even
Yeah.
on a slow day, if I don't have like a crazy sale, a crazy drop, we're at minimum touching 20 racks. On the high end, we're touching 60 racks. So it's a steady come up against the wall. I tell him I'll beat the shit out of you. Like I'll fucking
He's
kick
talking
your
about
ass.
his father right now.
Just because he's like old school Korean, he doesn't understand. Like, you know, he'd be like, black people would be coming here, oh, they steal. I'm like, bro, they're not all stealing, bro. Like, it's not fair to say that, you know? Even just being cheap, like being so cheap, like I'm cheap, but it's.
So when he's talking about his father, and I would say, Eric, if you ever see this, always honor thy mother and father. There's a different way of saying that, and I wouldn't tell that story again. We know everything lives on the internet, and it's hard to kill it. But you know, talking about pops and you, I know Eric without knowing Eric. Like I know Eric in not just the Asian community, but the African community, the African American community, and only in California. I sometimes say, do you meet somebody so honest? Talk about the amounts of money, you know, the beating up your father, the house arrest, the depression that he's going to get into, you know. um Eric is over honest, and but he goes back and lets people know that his dad is a racist, you know, and maybe he's a racist, he would say, because his perception or his experiences or what he saw on TV. A lot of people judge black people in America, especially those who, you know, are from here and not don't have parents of immigrants. They judge it what they see on TV. I never heard the N-word so much one time when in South Africa, right before the World Cup, you know, before the 2007 World Cup. And I was like, why do they keep saying this? Like everywhere I go, but they were putting on for me. You know what I mean? Or they're just talking the way they see on TV. So sometimes we have to know that's TV built up, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But we know with Eric saying that, do not ignore reality, because most people will not say what he just said, that his father was a racist and his father was, you know, thinking black folk were gonna come over there and steal everything. Nah, black folk ain't gonna come steal any more than anybody else. We can see on this internet
$3,000. Like you can't get that in any business. City, here's another spot where you can get wholesale shirts. So I wasn't like, yo, just buy the shit from me. I was like, here's the like everything that I know. And then I started getting brand deals from like competitors, people that were like that I was competing against, and I was like, oh, this feels so weird. This is like my
For selling weed. Did that like change something in you, or?
Yeah, I fucking was depressed as shit. I went from making $1,000 a day to going to strip clubs, doing cocaine, blacking out, to being a fucking loser at my mom's house with an ankle monitor. I went to therapy for like a whole year. I think the main thing it taught me was just what real life was.
I want to stop on that point. The therapy for a whole year. You guys, if you haven't tried it, if it doesn't kill you, keep going. Keep going, even if you don't see it. This is not a magic pill. I know I'm totally biased, right? But go to a licensed clinician and get some help. Don't just go to the pastor, because you don't know what the pastor got dealing. You know, a lot of pastors, a lot of great pastors out there who are actually therapists, you know, but there's a lot of people who you guys are going to and they're doing stuff you don't even know. But that reset can really help you, and even do your solo therapy, do your couples therapy, get it all out. Get your kids therapy. Kids are going through so much right now. Yeah, they need therapy, you know, because everybody's not the same. Everybody didn't get the same game. I guess it's like, you know, business. Everybody's going to get a different price, and that's why you go to therapy. But go get your therapy on, because it can only help. Let's see. There's some other
Wait a
parts
second,
in
that shit
here.
ain't real. Like it's crazy. I mean, you're talking about buying pounds for $1,200 and selling them for $3,000. Like you can't get that in any
Eric been
business.
through
You
something,
know what I'm
right?
saying? That's a legal business. So it really just showed me like, yo, making like real money, like an actual dollar, the legit way, is like 10 times harder. So this is the network headquarters. So yeah, what happened was I was trying to market my dad's business, right? So I was doing the blanks and I was trying to market the business. And you know, Gary Vee always talks about like building like a.
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit over here.
$40.
So you've seen, I mean, you've worked with a lot of clothing brands, and you've
Mm-hmm.
seen some be successful and you've seen some not be successful. What do you think is the biggest differentiator between the successful ones and the unsuccessful?
Having that shit on. You know what I'm saying? Like for clothing brands, like, you know, I couldn't put that shit on. Like I do not put that shit on. I take that shit off every day. So I wasn't a successful clothing brand owner. It's almost like trying to talk to a hot girl. You know, like if you're always readily available, like chances are she don't want to talk to you. But if you're just kind of like, fuck it, like, you know, you ignore her, she texts you, you don't text.
He says in this, you know, you got to be able to wear your clothes. A lot of y'all are wearing your clothes, and I think Nipsey talked about this. You know, you don't even want to put your clothes on. Why would I want to wear it? And others have talked about it too, in case I get the quote wrong. He's wearing his stuff right now, right? But you got to also be able to fill it out and want somebody to be like you. And everybody doesn't have that swag. You know, everybody doesn't have the custom made millionairex.ai so you can get your finances right. Swag, where people say, man, what is that? No, everybody's not able to rock the cowrie beads and be like, hey, that's currency around your neck. Yeah, real money. You know, so he talks about that, and he also goes into, and I'm gonna see if I can catch it for you. He's gonna talk about, you know, most
Back for
people
4
aren't
hours,
gonna
all of a
win.
sudden she just started blowing your shit up. It's kind of like the same shit with the edit. That's why I'm on the fucking text back for 4 hours. All of a sudden she just started blowing your shit up. It's kind of like the same shit with the clothing brand. If you're like always out there and you're like, yo, buy my shit, buy my shit. It's like, yo, you're just gonna get the busted girls.
Yeah.
But if you're like, you pop in and you just show face and then you pop out, they're gonna be like, who is that? What is that brand? You know. So that's what I've seen works. I'm not good at it. That's why I'm on the fucking, you know, the bottom of the train where I'm like, yo, just I'm always here. I'm always accessible. But
What percent of brands do you think make it versus fail?
99% don't make it.
99% don't make it.
I'm in the business of selling shovels to gold miners.
Oh.
And everyone.
I love that, what he said. That's real game. He's making his own stuff, but his dad had this business, but he wasn't running it the way he would have ran it and had not made as much money, right? That old school mentality, you see that in many businesses. But he's like, look, I'm still gonna have his vision, I'm still gonna have a dream, I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna, you know, put my stuff on during this interview. But he said 99%. So when people come up to me and they expect us to like cut our retainer fee or what we would want because they have a new idea and they want to do some clothing or perfume or whatever it is, cologne, I'm like, the likelihood of you making it, especially if you don't have enough money to pay your team, is not good. And so can we have a piece of this business if I want it, right? It's kind of a testing thing to see where they're at, see how greedy they are. Because everybody says, hey, when I blow up, you blow up type deal. But that's usually when people blow up, they blow out and they lose their dang mind. But he said, I'm selling shovels to the miners, to the gold miners. That's the business I want to be in. I don't want to have to go look for the gold, and if it hits, let me supply you. Even if it's in holograms, let me be invested in the companies that are supplying the holograms with what they need, right? And it was the same thing with AI. I want to be in that, what you need. I don't, you know, right now with Florida Funders, I saw the email as a small member. OpenAI was in a Series G round, you know, and it starts at 100K, but I wanted to be in the supplies that you need. And if you want to be in that business, you can hit me up. You can become a client. We can talk about that all day. Sometimes people call me and they're like, hey, can you test out our software? Or what do you think about it? You know, I don't need a lot of time, but just tell me what you think. That's work for me. So I'm in the shoveling business, selling you the shovels. You book the time. You guys, I didn't want to make this video too long. Shout out to Eric. Glad that he is making not just a difference in his business, but in the culture, and the people coming to him, they know the business that they're going into. It's a rough business unless you have delusions of grandeur. But I love it. We have to get on this business. Capitalism is for us all, but a lot of people don't know the rules of the game. That's why I do my shows like Diversified Game. That's why I have millionairex.ai. I have CPRFIRM.com so we can show you, teach you the things that you want to do. We're not going to get you rich overnight. That's not what we say, but we sure are going to spare you the time and the money of the mistakes that you're going to make or the things you don't even know that are available. Okay? You guys have been blessed by the game. Why don't you leave a comment? Tell me what you think. Why don't you give a like? And also, you can share this with somebody. It will change their life. Y'all be blessed.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt? Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. MillionaireX.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit MillionaireX.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At COLEMAN Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit CPRFIRM.com, that's ColemanPRFIRM.com, and MillionaireX.ai. Then download the MillionaireX app, your AI-powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business. It's different.
Hi everyone. Have you ever been curious about visiting Africa? Which African country were you interested in? Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Ethiopia? Which country are you interested in? My good friend, Kellen Kash Coleman, came up with a course called My First Trip to Africa that'll guide you through this process. It's only $20, and in this course you'll learn about passports, visas, vaccinations that you need before you go there, as well as a budget, how much the trip is going to cost. He also talks about what you should pack, what you should take with you, how you should travel on a budget. Did you know that $100 is worth 1,000 South African rand and over 10,000 Kenyan shillings? So imagine what you can do with $100 back home. I say back home because I'm from Sudan, I'm African, I already know how it's like. I know that, when you convert Canadian and American money, it goes a long way when you're traveling across Africa. So if you're curious, if Africa is a place that you've always wanted to go, always wanted to move there, Kellen Kash is the person to ask. Check out the course. There's a little preview you can listen to before you actually purchase it. If you're interested in this course, visit www.diversifiedgame.com. Don't miss out.